Chomsky, thank you so very much for talking to us today.
Very pleased to be with you.
As you know, Kerry-Lugar Bill, one of the aid packages were recently passed. The bicameral support now it passed House of Representatives. It is a new form of aid that is supposed to go to the civilian institution as compared to the previous support that has gone to the military. What do you think, why do you think that has changed, and how significant is this aid package for Pakistan?
It could be significant. I mean, at the very least, it's symbolically significant. The question, of course, will be, what's the aid going to be? Who's going to administer it? Where is it going to go? Is it going to be an attempt to sort of tempt Pakistanis into supporting U.S. policies, or is it going to be for the interests of Pakistan? Those are big differences. In fact, if we look at the scale of the aid, I think it's $1.5 billion, which by accident happens to be exactly the same as the amount of money that last year went to build a huge, to maintain a huge, what's called an embassy in Baghdad. It's actually a city inside the Green Zone, huge city in Baghdad for a permanent American presence there. And Obama is going to increase that by several, maybe $500,000 or so. And they're doing the same thing in Pakistan, and in fact also building huge consulates all over. So the quantity of so-called economic aid is probably on the scale of the diplomatic side of the U.S. engagement there. Diplomatic means to maintain large-scale control. It's worth keeping the numbers in mind. But if it really turns, if it really would indicate a shift from the policies, long-standing policies of militarizing Pakistan to contributing to Pakistan's desperate needs for secularization, for democracy, for a realization of the autonomy provisions of the Constitution and so on, yeah, then it could be important. But that's really for Pakistanis to decide. They have to determine how that aid is spent.
Right. So, but Pakistan, of course, does not have as much leeway on how aid is spent when they're getting an aid. The audit controls as well as the spending mechanism is pretty much determined by the donor agencies and donor countries.
That's right. But who does have control? It should be, it's the country that receives the aid that should have control. If the control is in the hands of the outside power, it'll be for their purposes. So a lot of what's called economic aid is actually subversion and undermining democracy and so
on. What is symbolic here this time around is that this aid is going not to support Pakistan's military or an individual or a military ruler, but to a democratically elected government. At least on paper, it looks like it is to support the democracy.
You stress the words on paper. I mean, it's hardly an independent democratic government. Nevertheless, it's a step forward, possibly. But everything depends on how it's dispersed, what it's designed for, intended for, and how it's used. And that remains to be seen. But at least it is a symbolic step.